right? So you're looking at Bitcoin price in US dollars, and then you're looking at gold price in US dollars, and then you're looking at stocks prices in US dollars, and then you're looking at S&P 500 performance in US dollars. And then, so basically you assume that US dollar is your unit of account. For you, it's like 1 meter equals 1 meter, 1 kilometer equals 1 kilometer, $1 equals $1, 1K, 100K equals 100K. The Bitcoin realization is that that's not true. Because 1 meter today, tomorrow, maybe 0.8 meters. Whereas we will still call it 1 meter. And that's the problem with measuring in US dollars. So my biggest realization and eye-opening and really shocking thing is, and something that defies the common wisdom. Obviously, if you look at the performance of S&P 500 and stocks, right, you see the numbers go up. I mean, in US dollars. But then what if we could look at S&P 500 performance over the last 20 or 50 years, A, in gold, and B, in Bitcoin? So instead of showing stocks performance and then US dollars, you're showing it denominated in Bitcoin, denominated in gold. And what's very shocking, and you can Google it up, I mean, it's online. What's very shocking is that if you look at those charts, first, denominated in gold, right now the performance of the stock market is on the same level as it was in the 1960s.
Oh.
Meaning, what we think and what the common wisdom is and what everybody thinks is that, of course, economy grew, right? Of course, the stocks are way higher. If only I bought all those stocks 20 years ago, I would have a lot of money right now, right? But is it really the performance of companies and the economy, or is it just money printing? This is shocking. I can later share this chart there, but this is one this is the one, the S&P 500 to gold ratio. And if you actually look at this, we are here, right? This is on the same level as it was in the late 60s. On the same level. Now, obviously, and this is in gold. So gold was going up in the value, but at the same time, stocks were going up in the value. But if you denominate in gold, those sort of cancel out, and then you see the real growth, real change, right? And not to mention like stocks to Bitcoin in performance, right? Obviously, if you start measuring in Bitcoin, as we say, everything goes to zero eventually against Bitcoin. I mean, it's brutal. It's very brutal. This is the S&P 500. This is the best idea boomers had for investing in stock market, right? Just forget it. Low cost invest fund, S&P 500 always goes up. Don't bet against American economy. You're just putting money in there for 20 years. You will have millions, right? And so in USD, it really goes up. But if you start looking at Bitcoin, it all loses.
Yeah.
So this was shocking realization that the price of the frame of reference that you're measuring things in really, really matters. Really matters. And so in Bitcoin, once you start measuring everything in Bitcoin, obviously you see the world differently, right? Then you see, okay, is this grocery going up or down? Is this house going up or down? Is this stock up and down? Is this S&P 500 going up or down? And you stop using US dollars because they are being diluted. You start using Bitcoin. And all of a sudden you cannot find anything outside of Bitcoin that would outperform Bitcoin. So Bitcoin becomes your base layer, something that you start measuring everything from. This becomes your hurdle rate. This becomes your base. And so that's why also we are thinking of, if if really money printing and increase of US dollars in circulation is what's fueling the economy, it means that our economy is not in an as good shape as it's being portrayed, right? So normally you hear like, oh, we have, normally S&P 500 returns around 7 to 10% per year. Obviously, there are crash years, etc., but on average, it's 7 to 10% per year, right? But if you strip down the money increase, the money supply increase, then this becomes 2%. And then you see the 7 or 8% is pure printing. It's just pure increase of the dollars. And all this excessive liquidity ends up, guess what? Guess where? In all those assets, right? S&P 500, real estate, best real estate, everything goes up because of this excessive US dollars that will need to find a way into something, will need to be invest something because they are losing value.
Totally agree. I think more and more people will realize this, that basically that they need to measure everything against Bitcoin, because otherwise it's just fake illusion that you're making for making any gains. Yeah, totally agree. Those are very strong charts and very strong arguments for everyone thinking that you can make money from stocks if you buy S&P 500. Awesome. We have five more minutes. I would suggest to check one additional aspect before we wrap up, and this is related to the debate of how much you can protect your goat from thefts and also from some confiscation or some bad actors that may actually target you. And do you know what I'm seeing from my experience? If you live in Europe, if you live in United States, you don't think that much about someone taking your wealth. But if you live in Argentina, if you live in China, it's completely different story. I don't know if people realize, but in China there are capital controls. You cannot really move your wealth outside of the country, and at any point the party can go and take your wealth. They can confiscate it, and you saw this happening with some of the very famous tech founders in China. So how you can ensure your wealth that you work so hard for is not going to be confiscated from the government? If you buy goat, you cannot leave the country with one bag full of goat, and you cannot send it with FedEx. It's not going to work. So what you can do, you can look for alternative. And what are your alternatives? Well, the only alternative is Bitcoin. Someone may argue, okay, but I can buy also stable coins. Yes, you can buy stable coins, but do you really trust decentralized company behind the stable coin, or you just trust Bitcoin, which is completely decentralized and no one is owning it and no one can take the Bitcoin out of you? So that's something which people in Europe, in Western countries, in the United States, United Kingdom don't really think about, but that's the real problem which Bitcoin is solving for people who want to protect their wealth. It's the same in Argentina. It's something similar is happening also in some Southeast Asian countries, in Africa. People just have those problems. Like you work so hard for something to achieve, and then your wealth may disappear because someone is just entering and taking it. And I'm not speaking only for tests. I'm speaking for some agencies, government-owned agencies, which can really destroy you. And the Bitcoin is solving this. It's just giving you freedom to ensure you have control of your wealth, and you can ensure it's going to be moved internationally if you really need to. So that's one of the arguments about the Bitcoin being the real hard money, which is
Yes.
solving problems which gold cannot.
I would also say that those problems currently are indeed in Argentina and some other places, and we in Europe or in the US, we very often tend to think that, well, it's happening there, it's not going to happen here for sure. We are developed countries. Come on, those kinds of things won't happen. There's no way. But I wanted to remind everyone that it's just question of emergency situations, so to speak. So the situations like COVID or some geopolitical tensions or some war that no one predicted could potentially create some circumstances for that to happen. Now, in the US, in 1933, the US President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he signed the Executive Order 6102, right? And this order required US citizens to hand over their gold coins, any gold they had, and also gold bullion to the Federal Reserve. Now, the people were paid for this, so the thinking was, we are taking your gold, but we are compensating you in dollars, right? And guess what? Guess how many dollars they got in exchange back in the 30s? They got around $20 per ounce. Now, if you look at the current
Yes.
price of gold, it's around 3,000, right? Or above that.
Yes.
This just shows you amount of debasement and amount of, how many additional US dollars are in circulation since then, how much the price went up. And
Yeah.
that happened because that was extraordinary measure. One could argue that it was Great Depression and it was emergency situation, but next COVID will happen and there will be emergency situation too all over the world. And I think that situation like this, it's not like the question of whether they will happen. They will happen. We have such a globally connected economy. Like if next virus comes out, it will be everywhere. It will spread because it's just everybody's flying everywhere, etc. We are a super connected economy. So if those situations happen, you may be in this position. And then hoarding gold, the problem with gold, I mean, yes, it's physical. Yes, it's bearer asset. But again, it's if it's physical, I can physically by force take it from you if I'm a government.
Exactly.
Whereas, and here comes Bitcoin, right? Something not tangible, something that you can take off exchange, something that you can, take off the custodian, something that you can take the physical, the sovereign possession of, and you can have your hardware wallet, or you can have your, you can have your node, or you can have your brain wallet, right? You can just memorize the words. I keep repeating the brain wallet, but I love this is breakthrough idea. I mean, the fact that you can memorize the words and just move. You don't need to store it long term. You can just memorize the words and move Bitcoin to the safe place where you can just keep it safe. So that solves the problem because now and because Bitcoin doesn't have any controls and no one controls the blockchain, government probably won't be able to confiscate your Bitcoin as easily as they could the gold. So as although this situation sounds like very edge case that's not going to happen, very unlikely. If the likelihood is more than zero, then you should probably start thinking about this. What would you do in this situation like this? And especially rising, geopolitical tensions, the potential wars, etc., the potential turmoils happening in 21st century, then yeah, this can be a very relevant topic. Not doable with gold, not easily, not fast, not cheaply, but with Bitcoin, it's totally feasible. And some people argue even that we are all living in Argentina already. It's just the rate of money printing that is the difference. That's the only difference. So if Argentina is printing 50% a year or something like that, well, we are printing 7 to 10% a year. So that's the only difference, but we are still printing. So it's all melting, right? It's just the rate of melting is slower, so it feels like nothing's changing, but it really is changing. And that's why you see everything around you, going up in price. Like this, although it shouldn't, right? How come that everything is going up in price? Well, here's your answer, right?